So what we need is a nice gentle bit of classical music to calm me down after this repair. This is the TV we're playing with today. I've done another video of a repair on these, but this is slightly different. And I've got to be honest with you, I'll say this only once, but this TV is a pile of poo. And it's a pile of poo for several reasons. The biggest reason is that there are no spare parts available for this. No backlights anyway. And, well, there's plenty on eBay second-hand, but what's the point in putting... I've got loads of second-hand one myself. So why would you buy a second-hand one? I love it here how it says 4K Ultra HD with future-proof connectivity. Well, if you future-proofed your backlights, that would help. I've seen these TVs fail after 2 years, between 2 and 3 years. The one we've got in today has actually been in service, been running for 5.5 years. And the reason it's been running for 5.5 years is because they only have it on for a couple of hours a day. Whereas average Joe now, of course, probably got the TV on between 12 and 18 hours a day. So I was honest with the customer on this one. I did say that... it can't really be repaired. There are no parts for it. It's labour intensive, and I've got to be honest with you. Obviously, I'm not doing a running commentary on this. You're hearing me talk about it afterwards. Quite simply because it took 6 hours to do this. Well, I'm not in a rush because, as you can see from the weather, it's a sunny day. And as you can probably see if you've watched some of my other videos, is I've had to tidy up. All the screens that are usually in front of me, they've all gone. And too many wires running around. I have got some screens to put back. And this is the other reason why I'm not doing a running commentary, because during the course of the tidy up, the face mic that I use, which is a Bluetooth one. Well, I've lost the Bluetooth receiver. I've still got the microphone, but the Bluetooth receiver has just disappeared. I left it in the computer before I did the tidy up, and then when I put the computer back in the workshop, looked in the USB socket, it wasn't there. Now, the TV we're going to repair is not this TV. I've been to the workshop and I've got some spare backlights from a set. I've got 4... well, 5 including this. 5 of these in the workshop, still waiting either to be repaired or I think ones that I've used for other particular reasons. In fact, I've probably got 6 of these. I think 3 are working, 3 are waiting repair. But they suffer with, as well as the backlights, they suffer with a noisy power supply unit. And when I say noisy, it really is noisy. It really can buzz quite loudly on some of them. So I was explaining to the customer that spares for these not available. If I do repair it, it's labour intensive. I mean, I laid it on with the customer because it's just one of those jobs that in a way you don't want to do. Because you just get a horrible feeling that this could come back in a couple of weeks or a couple of months, which is not good enough. I understand that. So I tried everything I possibly could to say to the customer, I don't think it can be repaired, to be honest with you. I've only got spares that are second hand, as I'm about to find out, is about to bite me on the bum. Because I've taken some of the backlights out of this before, and I don't know why. If I've taken the backlights out of them, usually I don't put the bezel back on, and I don't put the diffusers back on. I must have had a real tidy day. And the problem is with these sets, it's usually the same 2 strips of backlights that go, and we'll notice in a second that those 2 strips, the 2 strips that I need, are not actually in here. So that's another one of the reasons why it's probably taken me 6 hours. I mean, changing backlights on a TV now should take between an hour and 2 hours at the most. Even on a reasonable size screen like this, a 48-inch. But when you haven't got the strips that you need, and you're soldering some in individually, time adds up. Don't worry, this is not going to be a 6-hour video. I've edited it down to about 20 minutes, I think, or maybe just a bit more. And there you can see on the right-hand side, you see the two. They're always the ones that you need. They're always the ones that fail because behind is the power supply unit that gets really hot. And it does get really hot. One part of the power supply gets hot, and it coincides with some of those backlights there. And they're the strips that you need. Well, as it turns out, I had a better result on this, because it wasn't. I needed a couple from the left-hand side and just one from the right-hand side. So what I ended up doing is replacing 2 on the left and 1 on the right-hand side. But then it still didn't get going, because I want to see how, because I didn't notice it, see how eagle-eyed you are during the course of this. Because I make a bit of a boo-boo, and I didn't notice I'd made a bit of a boo-boo. And just as I thought I'd got it all repaired and plugged it in, it was a failure. So at the moment I'm scratching my backside thinking, what am I going to do? Because those two strips are out. So but that will come in, this TV will come in handy. Or that one that I had earlier. Sorry, this is now the one to repair. So we're going to go through this, because as you've noticed, this has got all the strips in. Now, normally the strips, as I've mentioned, as I said before, the ones that go faulty are the 2 middle sections on the right hand side, and it's usually these 4, those 4 there. Those 4, they're the ones. They're the ones that normally burn out quicker because of the heat from the power supply behind. But as I mentioned earlier, it wasn't just those. But we'll go through it. The other pain in the backside with these particular sets, and if it wasn't for the fact I've got oodles of spare parts of these, I wouldn't have taken it on at all. I'd have stamped my foot and said, no, I'm sorry, it's not worth the hassle repairing it. But that strip on the right hand, I'm just testing the right hand strips at the moment, so the bottom side on the right hand is fine, all 5 are working, all 6 are working. Then we go to the ones that are usually problematic. I think they've got 7 or 6, I'm not too sure. They're slightly different design to the rest on the right. Now there's one gone there. You wait for the blinking SOS. There it is, look. Always that middle section. And quite often on the middle section, they do blink. When you test them anyway. But the rest on the right hand side are absolutely fine, and you'll see in a second. I just show you a quick, because I do test them all, and there you can see while I'm going through testing them all, there's one gone on the left hand side. Well, also there's another strip underneath that on the left hand side which is gone faulty as well. So this TV needs 2 left hand strips and 1 LED replacing, which I will have to solder in using my hot plate for that blinking one on the right hand side. But here's the problem. The screen supports that you can see which hold up the screen and the diffusers, you're not going to see it in the video because, as I say, I've edited this down to save a bit of time, but they are so brittle. You start turning it very gently and the screen supports just plastic, brittle, horrible design. Just break in your hands, and I think I broke 4 or 5, but luckily I've got 4 or 5 from the other screen that I had, so I get away with it. I think this one comes out. But some of the others just started to disintegrate right in front of me. So luckily we've got plenty of spares for the left-hand side. And I'm just putting in one of the left-hand side ones now, the final one. Then I shall fix up the blinking one on the right-hand side with a soldering iron and a heat station. And what else did I need? Oh, yes. Oh, there's the other thing to bear in mind. That's what I'm doing for the faulty one, for the one that blinks. I'm putting down some Captain tape, heat-resistant tape, just to see if it helps, just to see if it stops it breaking again. Maybe it will, maybe it won't, but I just thought I'd give it a go, because that's the one that really is so problematic on this particular set. So after repairing that section, I'm just starting to put it back together and standing by for a test. And then getting some of the screen supports from the donor screen that I'm using. You'll notice the ones from the donor screen that I'm going to be using are a slightly different colour. Well, they're not slightly different colour, they're yellow compared to the white. So maybe they came from a TV that was used in a smoker's house, I'm not too sure. You can possibly see that some are a completely different colour. Some are almost yellow, almost orange. Don't forget to get your eagle eyes ready for a mistake that I make, which leaves me scratching my head for half an hour. But don't worry, it hasn't happened yet. So far, I've been pretty darn good. But I have to say, if a customer brings me another one of these sets after spending 6 hours on it today, I'm just trying to get one of the brittle screen supports, one of the old ones, out completely. It's stuck in. If another customer brings me one of these sets, I am going to have to say no. Unless it just wants a main board or a T-Con or a power supply changing, then yes. But backlights, no. Until they make them available. Somebody did. There were some sets available a few months ago, but they wanted £100 for a set. £100. I wouldn't pay that, so I don't expect a customer to pay that. So, unfortunately, until somebody in China decides that they're going to start making copies of these, and good copies too, it's not going to happen. It's just, you're going to find a lot of these sets. And remember, these sets are not old. You know, they're smart, Wi-Fi, 4K, ultra high definition, very good picture quality for a Vestel. I mean, Vestel picture qualities are very good, but this was their entry level into 4K, as I mentioned earlier, and it's just something about this wasn't their finest hour, put it that way. Maybe they make these sets not to be repaired, not to be serviced. And this is so fiddly getting into it. You have to remove so many things from the back, you know, not just the T-Con cover and the speakers, but there's so many little bits that need work. Anyway, job has been done. We're about 4.5 hours into it here. It's a good job I didn't have a mic live as I'm doing this, because this is where I start cursing. Did you notice my error? Or did my talking put you off it? Because you can see there was just a flash of the backlights and they're not working. When you get a chance, just rewind and watch when I put down the final set of backlights. I don't connect them up. I just lay them flat. I don't plug them into the board on the right hand side. So I'm now, see, watch this. There. I didn't plug them in. So I now decide it's a good idea, rather than take the TV, rather than dismantle the TV again, and this is poor on my part, I try and bend it in. Now, I try and give myself a little bit of room by removing one of the screen supports. Anyway, so I put that back in and it still doesn't work. And there's a continuity problem between where the LED is fed in, so where the voltage is fed in. I don't know if you can hear the beep there, but that means it's beeping. The continuity is there, but it doesn't go from there to the LED bit itself. Now look at me, I'm bending this, I'm bending this in, and this is possibly what causes it, but again, looking at it, I don't see how it could, because I don't touch the little green circuit board on the right hand side where the LEDs slide into. I don't touch that. But there's a break in continuity, so what I have to do, and it took me 45 minutes to realise it, I have to run a wire. If you can see that cable there on the B right, there's a split. Well, I want to say this is a split. It's not visible to the eye, but the voltage meter, the continuity meter, just let me know that there was no continuity getting there. So anyway, I put a little bridge, and lo and behold, the backlights are all back together again. I'm just testing now that I've put them all in, because it's got me nervous that I didn't stick that LED section in correctly. Just a humble mistake, that's all it was. So I'm just plugging in the mains and switching. I'm also putting the plug in for the LEDs into the power supply, because when I test it with my LED tester, of course, I always disconnect that. The other thing I'm messing around with, I've just bought this here. This turned out to be a Chinese piece of dangerous rubbish. Well, it comes in handy. Now, as you can tell, the backlights are on. They're all working. They're all good. And I've used the correct backlights for these, not ones that are slightly brighter, which will cause a bit of a shadow on the screen. Yeah, sorry, I bought this from China just to help me, just to test voltage and to test current and that sort of stuff. And it's got the power factor on there as well. As you can see at the moment, it's just gone up to 470, sorry. $470 milliamps. Obviously there's no screen at the moment. It will go up considerably once the screen's connected, but the backlights are there. But that little voltage tester thing is it's not very good. I'm just brushing out some of the plastic bits from the brittle screen supports that broke, because you don't want to leave that in, you know. You can't hand the customer back the TV and it just rattles with bits. So the pain in the backside with this TV is no spare parts for the LEDs available, the brittle screen supports, and also the amount of screws that it needs, or it has. The screws around the back, the extra screws on the bottom. I'm talking probably 150 screws. And after 6.5 hours, now yes, I know I made a slight error there, so you can add an hour on for it, but 5 hours, far too long. 5 hours is far too long to be dealing with the TV. If it wasn't for the fact that it was a sunny day, and obviously I kept stopping for coffees and stuff, so I don't know, maybe the 5 hours is really just 3.5 hours, but it's still too long for this. But as you can see, TV's up and running, we've got a nice picture. I'm just going to test the sound just to make sure that I've plugged the speakers back in. Just very quickly, just don't want to upset YouTube with any copyright infringement. But it's back up and running. It's nice. I don't know how long it's going to be up and running. I'd like to say it's going to be up and running for years. Maybe it will be. Let's hope so. Anyway, thanks for watching.